There is a specific moment, usually at the end of the day, that should be for relaxation and connection, but for you, it has become a source of dull, almost physical anxiety. It's the moment the lights go out, the bedroom door closes, and you feel the shift in the atmosphere. It's not the warmth of intimacy you feel coming from the other side of the bed. It's a heavy expectation. It's a silent demand. You find yourself calculating, how long has it been? 3 days? A week? If I don't do this tonight, what will his mood be like tomorrow? This internal negotiation, this subtle dread that turns touch into a fee and a kiss into a contract, is one of the most devastating and least discussed signs of narcissistic abuse. You've started to believe that you have a problem. Maybe you thought your libido disappeared, that you've become cold, or that, as he says, you don't love him like you used to. But what if I told you that what you're feeling isn't a lack of desire, but an excess of survival instinct? What if your aversion to touch isn't a flaw, but a desperate cry from your body trying to protect your psychological integrity? What happens when a narcissist turns the most vulnerable act of love into a tool for control, punishment, and obligation? In this video, we are going to understand the hidden dynamics behind sexual coercion within a narcissistic relationship. We'll understand why you feel used even when you say yes, and why, in this dynamic, consent is often just a fancy word for giving in to avoid suffering. My name is Lauren Mitchell. My purpose with this channel is to show you that the problem was never you, and more importantly, that you are not alone. If this video touches your heart, I invite you to check out the link in the description of this video. You will find an ebook created with great care to help you reframe what you've lived through, strengthen your self-esteem, and recover the self that was stolen from you. Let's look at the raw reality of your day-to-day life. In a healthy relationship, sex is a dance of mutuality. It's a space where two people meet to share pleasure, vulnerability, and connection. There is an implicit permission for a no, and that no is met with understanding, not retaliation. However, with a narcissist, the dynamic is transactional. You realize that his affection during the day isn't free. It's an investment that expects an immediate return at night. If he did the dishes, if he was nice at dinner, if he didn't yell at the kids, he created a debt, and the currency of payment is your body. When you aren't willing, whether due to exhaustion, illness, or simply not wanting to, his reaction is never one of support. The mask drops instantly. The charming man from dinner turns into a pouting child or a harsh judge. He might not physically assault you to get what he wants. Narcissistic coercion is much more sophisticated. It operates in the realm of guilt and fear. He turns to the side and huffs loudly, making sure you hear his frustration. He pulls away physically, creating an icy abyss in the bed. Or worse, he starts the interrogation. Is there someone else? You don't find me attractive anymore? It's amazing how everything is more important than me. You've learned to read these signs. You know that if you say no today, tomorrow will be hell. He'll wake up in a bad mood, criticize your coffee, be snapping at everyone, and give you the silent treatment. The emotional cost of saying no becomes so high that your brain performs a survival calculation. It's easier to give in. It's easier to give him what he wants to buy domestic peace. This is where love dies and obligation is born. You aren't making love, you're paying rent. You are performing maintenance sex to avoid a crisis. And every time you give in against your will, a small part of your autonomy is eroded. You feel dirty, used, and confused because technically you consented. But consent under emotional coercion isn't consent, it's surrender. This feeling of being trapped, of having to perform intimacy to ensure emotional stability in the home, is the fertile soil where the narcissist plants his deepest control. He has trained you to believe that access to your body is his right and your duty, and any deviation from this script is treated as a serious breach of contract. To understand how we got to this point of obligation, we need to go back to the beginning, because you didn't enter this relationship feeling repulsion or obligation. On the contrary, the beginning was likely marked by explosive chemistry. This wasn't accidental, it was the foundation of the trap. During the love bombing phase, the narcissist used sex and intimacy as a primary mirroring tool. He studied your desires, your fantasies, and molded himself to be the perfect partner. The frequency was high, the passion was intense, and you felt desired like never before. You thought, I've found my soulmate, but psychologically, what was happening was the creation of a benchmark, An impossible standard to sustain. He was collecting data. He was creating the basis for the future accusation. Look at how you used to be. As soon as the devaluation phase begins, that honeymoon period becomes the weapon he points at your head. When you, exhausted by his emotional demands and mind games, naturally slow down the pace or sexual intensity, he doesn't see it as a natural response to relationship stress. He sees it as a breach of contract. He starts using phrases like, "You've changed," or "You tricked me." He claims you pretended to be a sexually active and passionate person just to trap him, and that you've now revealed yourself to be frigid or boring. This is a gaslighting tactic designed to attack your sexual and feminine identity. He makes you believe the problem is your own biological or moral failing. He deliberately ignores the fact that sexual intimacy requires emotional intimacy and safety, two things he systematically destroys. How can you open up physically to someone who criticized, humiliated, or ignored you 3 hours earlier? To the narcissist, this connection doesn't exist. To him, sex is compartmentalized. He can call you useless at 6 p.m. and expect oral sex at 10 p.m. When you can't make that switch, because you are a normal human being with integrated feelings, he accuses you of being resentful or not knowing how to separate things. This purposeful disconnection serves to make you doubt your own sanity. You start trying harder, performing a desire you don't feel, trying to prove to him and to yourself that you are still that woman from the beginning. You try to fix the relationship in bed without realizing that the problem was never the sex. The problem is his use of sex to keep you in a constant state of inadequacy. Deepening our look into the narcissistic psyche, we need to understand what sex actually means to them. To a person with pathological narcissistic traits, the other person is not a separate individual with their own desires and boundaries. The other is an extension, an object, an appliance that should work when the button is pressed. Sex, for the narcissist, is a primary form of narcissistic supply. First, it is a validation of power. The fact that you give in, especially when he knows you don't want to, is the ultimate proof of control for him. Seeing you submit your body to his will reaffirms his fantasy of omnipotence. This is why many narcissists become more aroused or demanding right after a fight, or when you are crying. Your vulnerability doesn't trigger compassion. It triggers a predatory instinct for conquest. Second, sex serves as emotional regulation for him. The narcissist carries a chronic inner emptiness and latent anxiety. He uses your body as a human anti-anxiety pill. The sexual act isn't about an exchange of energy with you. It's about the discharge of his tension. It's assisted masturbation. You are just the necessary vehicle for him to obtain physical relief and ego validation. This is why, often, the act itself feels mechanical, selfish, or performative. He may be focused only on his own pleasure, or he may be focused on a performance worthy of a porn movie to feel like a great lover. But in both cases, you, the real person present, are irrelevant. He isn't looking into your eyes seeking your soul. He's looking at his own reflection in your eyes. This dynamic transforms the sexual relationship into an act of consumption. He consumes you, and when it's over, he often turns to the side and sleeps, or gets up and goes to do something else, as if you ceased to exist the moment your utility was fulfilled. This post-coital coldness is devastating. It confirms the feeling that you were used, and if you try to talk about it, about the lack of affection, the lack of foreplay, or the feeling of emptiness, he accuses you of being too needy or complicated. He flips the guilt, making your human need for emotional connection look like a pathological weakness. He conditions you to accept physical crumbs as if they were a banquet of love, keeping you hungry and therefore easier to control. We now come to the most painful and revealing pillar of this analysis. What happens to you inside your own skin? The body has a wisdom that the mind often tries to silence. While your rational mind tries to justify his behavior, he's stressed with work. It's just for tonight. It's better than fighting. Your body begins to scream the truth. Many victims of narcissistic abuse report a sudden and overwhelming sense of physical repulsion toward their partner. It's the famous ick. His smell, the touch of his skin, his breathing near you starts to cause nausea, bad chills, or an uncontrollable urge to run away. This isn't you being mean. This is your autonomic nervous system recognizing a predator. Your body has identified that this person is not safe. Your body knows you are being emotionally violated, even if there is no explicit physical violence. When you ignore these signs and give in to sex out of obligation, a process of dissociation occurs. During the act, you leave your body. You look at the ceiling, make mental grocery lists, think about work, or simply shut down emotionally, waiting for it to be over. You become a rag doll. This dissociation is a very serious defense mechanism. It signals deep trauma. Every time you say, yes, when your whole being is screaming no, you are committing a betrayal against yourself. You are teaching your brain that your boundaries don't matter, that your will has no value, and that your body is public property. This self-betrayal generates toxic shame. You feel like an accomplice to your own abuse. And the result of this, often, is the development of psychosomatic problems, chronic pelvic pain, recurring infections, yeast infections, UTIs, that seem to have no cure, migraines, gastrointestinal issues. The body is literally rejecting the invasion. It is doing the job you were conditioned not to do. It is saying no. The narcissist, noticing your physical withdrawal, muscle rigidity, lack of lubrication, uses this to punish you even further, closing the cycle of guilt. But understand, your body's reaction is the proof of your sanity. It is proof that deep down, you know, love shouldn't hurt, shouldn't demand, and shouldn't negate who you are. Understanding that sexual intimacy has become a tool of coercion is a brutal awakening, but an absolutely necessary one. If you recognized yourself in this script, if you feel that pit in your stomach when bedtime approaches, know this: you are not broken. Your libido didn't die. It's on strike. It is protected in a bunker, refusing to come out in an environment that is hostile to its existence. The narcissist turned love into an obligation to ensure you never felt like you owned yourself. But the truth is that your body is the only territory that is irrevocably yours. Consent is not the absence of a no. It is the presence of an enthusiastic, safe, and fear-free yes. Reclaiming your autonomy begins with the internal validation that you don't owe anyone anything. No one has a right to your body, no matter if it's your boyfriend or your husband of 20 years. Sex is not a bargaining chip for good behavior. The clarity you seek won't come from trying to explain this to him, because he knows what he's doing, and his intention is control, not connection. Clarity comes from listening to what your body has been screaming for years. That repulsion, that blockage, that desire to flee, that is your compass. It is the healthiest part of you saying, enough, I deserve to be touched with respect, or not touched at all. You don't need to fix your coldness. You need to warm yourself up far away from the source. That freezes you. Feel free to leave your story, your vent, or even a suggestion for a topic for the next video in the comments below. Access the link in the description to check out my ebook and the benefits of being a member of this channel. Click on the suggested video on the screen to stay with me, and remember, you are light. Never forget to shine.